Welcome to the channel. Today's episode, we've got a Global Mx5 Cup Car in the shop. Needs some repair work and a little bit of paint work, so stay tuned. Alright, so we got another Global Cup Car we got to repair. I just picked this one up from Atlanta Speedworks. It looks like it needs a door, the quarter panel, and also this rocker cover, and maybe even the rocker underneath it. So let's get this thing off the trailer, get it in the shop, get it up on jack stands so we can take it apart and see what all parts we need. Alright, so we got this thing apart. The rocker's off so we can see the damage here. The rocker was held on with all these sheet metal screws, and they normally put a few in here but not that many. I think they just basically got the rocker screwed on there really good so that it would stay on there so they could finish the race. This quarter panel definitely needs to be replaced. This rocker is bent in right here, but we're going to repair this. But this is some heavy gauge metal. It's pretty hard to get this metal to move, so we're going to put this car on the frame machine, clamp it down, weld to it, and pull that out to where it needs to be. The hinges look like they might be bent a little bit because this door did take an impact, but as far as parts go, I think we're just going to need this quarter panel skin. We've already got the new rocker and we've already got the new door, so we got to order that quarter, and when it gets here we'll get this thing put together. We get most of our Mazda parts from Mazda Motorsports in California. That's where we're going to be getting this quarter panel from. And they are, like I said, in California, so sometimes it takes a few days to get the parts here. But I think they're trying to make a race, so I'm going to let the team know to try to expedite and get that quarter panel here faster. Alright, so there's probably not going to be any expediting of any parts on this car because the COVID-19 put the kibosh on racing for a little bit. And as I said, the part is coming out of California, so it might take a little longer than expected to get it. So that being the case, we're going to put this car to the side, put a car cover over it, and we'll get right back on it as soon as the quarter panel gets here. Just got a box delivered from UPS. Let's get this thing open. I think it's a quarter panel for a Global Mx5 Cup Car. Let's open it up and see. Looks like it's the correct one. It's got the gas lid on this side. Let's get it out of this box and see if it's been damaged during shipping. Looks good. We've been waiting on this quarter panel for a little while, so the car has been on the back burner with a car cover over it. So let's get it up on the frame machine and get this thing fixed. We got this thing all clamped down. Let me show you how we're going to start off this repair. We're going to start this repair off by taking off this rear bumper cover, this tail light, and these two trim pieces up here. That way we'll be able to get this quarter panel cut off and start pulling on some of this inner structure in here. So the tail light clips in this little area right here, and a lot of times you can stick a screwdriver in there and pry it, but you take a chance of breaking the edge of the tail light. Let me show you guys a little trick that I learned how to get that stuff out. If you can get you some tape and tape it to the tail light, put your little cross piece right here and pull that way, it should pop that tail light right out. we got this thing taken apart, so now we can start doing our rough pull. We're going to be pulling on this rocker here and pulling on this outer wheelhouse. You see how it's bent, the inner structure there's bent. We're just going to be doing a rough pull, kind of get it close. Then we can cut this quarter panel off, set the new quarter panel up there, and make sure everything fits right. And that'll tell us where we need to pull this inner structure and this rocker to make it perfect. So to pull on the outer wheelhouse, they make these tools here. We have a large one and we have a small one. And basically, it just hooks in here, hooks in the wheelhouse lip there. You can hook the frame machine to it right here and pull on it. And it applies the pressure in the right position to get this thing pulled out. And to pull on this rocker, we use this little tab here and this Mo clamp. Let me show you. So you take this little tab here and you weld it to the low spot of the panel that you want to be pulling on. And you can see here it's got a little raised area. And that coincides with this Mo clamp. You can slide them together like so. And then once it's put together like that and it's welded to the car, it's got this eyelet that you can hook to the frame machine and pull out the panel. So you can see here, this doesn't look like factory spot weld, so this quarter panel's been put on. So we're going to take a grinder and grind off all these MIG welds to get this quarter panel off. Got this new door. We've got to get it cut out for the roll cage clearance. Got this tape on here. Let me show you what it's for. This tape is on here for basically an outline to show us where we need to cut. We'll be cutting to the outside of this line, and we used another door over here as a reference point, but we've got this basically as a template to know where to cut it. We got the door sitting up here, and you can see the gap between the hinge and the body. I think these hinges might be bent. Another thing is, when you go to close the door, it's wanting to hit this fender. It's acting like the door is too far forward. So we're going to pull this fender off, get the door closed, and see if we can adjust out those hinges before we start buying new ones. And if we can make these hinges work, we'll just get this fender bolted back on and get everything lined up like that. In order to pull this fender off, we're going to pull this front bumper cover off first. So let's get on that now. Alright, so we were able just to loosen this side of the bumper and pull the headlight away and get this fender off without actually taking the whole bumper cover off. Alright, so when the door took a lick, it opened up this gap, and I showed you that before, and it is keeping us from getting a door gap at the back. So we pulled the door back off, we're going to grab this hinge and try to pull it back a little bit and close up this gap, and that should give us a good gap for the back. Alright, so you can see we closed up the gap a little bit. We're going to hang this door back on there and see if that helped us out back in the back. Alright, so we closed up the gap. It looks pretty good now. We're going to get the fender hung on this thing now. Make sure we got a gap in the front. All right, so we're pretty happy with the way this quarter panel is fitting, so we're going to pull it back off so I can jam out the inside of it. The inside of this quarter panel needs to be painted gray. Now here's the one that came off the car so you can actually see what it's supposed to look like. Now there are two ways you can go about doing this. You can weld this quarter panel on the car and then paint everything, all the gray on the inside while it's on the car. Or you can paint everything gray on the jambs, weld it on the car, and then everywhere that you have welded, you'll have to spot in and paint over the welds. So I've done it both ways, and there are pros and cons to each way. And on this one, I think we should go ahead and paint the inside of this quarter panel prior to welding it on the car. That way we'll minimize any overspray inside the car. So let's get this thing painted. We got the inside of this quarter panel sprayed gray, and I put some accelerator in the paint to help it dry a little faster. So in a couple hours, it should be dry enough for us to take out of the booth and start getting it ready to weld onto the car. Alright, so this paint is dry. We're going to be prepping this thing to weld it on the car by cleaning off all the paint on the edges all the way down to the metal so that we get good penetration when we're welding. Alright, so we got all the edges cleaned up on the quarter panel. We've test fitted on the car one more time. Now we can pull it off and put some panel bond where we want to be gluing, set it back on the car, and weld everywhere else. Alright, so we got this quarter panel put up here. Now we glued along the top edge here and on the back edge and in the wheel opening with panel bond. And we spot welded the corners like there. We also spot welded across the top and in the door jamb here. Now we're waiting on this panel bond to dry. I think it says 24 hours to dry. So while we're waiting on that to dry, we're going to go ahead and fix some dents in this door. And I've got them marked with tape. There's a dent there, one at the top, and two down here at the bottom. So we're going to pull this door off and start repairing these dents and get them primed. I know what you're thinking. Brand new panels are not supposed to have dents in them. Sometimes it happens. Alright, so we've got the dents on the door repaired, so let's get this thing taped up and get some primer on it. Alright, so we've got the primer on this door. We went ahead and guide coated it. We're going to let it dry overnight, along with the panel bond on this car. So when we come back in the morning, we'll pull these vice grips off. We'll get the car off the frame machine and start prepping it for paint. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this video, so make sure you check in for part 2 so you can see me get this thing painted black.
This here coronavirus has lasted longer than anything China has ever made before.
Alright guys, so that's going to be about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel and this is the first time you're ever seeing me,
consider subscribing and clicking on the bell icon. That way you won't miss any future content. Leave any thoughts or questions you have in the comment section down below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. See ya!